We must vote. When we vote, we win. Everything is at stake. No more hold your vote hostage. Because if you don't vote now, you won't have a vote later.
Hey, TheGrio fam, it's Gerren Keith, Gaynor White House correspondent and managing editor of politics at TheGrio, and I'm here with State Representative in Kentucky, Colonel Pam Stevenson, who is the Democratic candidate for Kentucky's Attorney General. Colonel Stevenson, welcome to TheGrio. Pleasure to have you.
I am so happy to be here. It's exciting. I love what you do. And the more we can give people information, the more they can engage, because the democracy is dependent on engagement.
Engagement is incredibly important, especially for elections. And you have an election coming up next Tuesday on November 7th. If you are elected Attorney General, you will become the first Black woman to ever hold this position. What does the historical nature of your campaign mean to you? And is Kentucky ready to elect a Black woman as Attorney General?
Well, two things. One, yes, they are. I've traveled miles and miles and miles over Kentucky. I've gone to from the hood to the holler, as Charles Booker would say. And when people find out you're interested in their life, when people find out that you want to make things better, they've got a lot to say. And I've had many, many people say to me, you might be a Republican. I'm a Republican and you're a Dem, but I can work with you. I've had people explain to me their hopes and their dreams. Now, this is why this is important. I had a 6-year-old who was very shy and didn't like talking in front of people, asked to talk in front of adults. And she said, they call me Pam Pam. She says, I want Pam Pam to win, because if Pam Pam wins, that means I can win too. So children across this state and across this country need to know that the promise of America still exists. They need to know that they can grow up and be anything, do anything that they want to be. They need to know that there will be a democracy left standing when it's time for them to take over. So this is a very winnable race. We've got a poll that shows that I'm within striking distance that can statistically be wiped out with a commercial. And we also have a poll that says when people, no matter what their persuasion, find out that I am a 27-year vet, an ordained minister, and that I retired as a colonel, I win. Because they want their government to work for them. And they have a very high opinion of what military members give and do so that they can live free. So yes, we're winning. Yes, it's happening in 7 days and some hours. And yes, we're going to be for all people.
And you mentioned you are a colonel, a veteran of the Air Force, and obviously a representative in Kentucky State Representatives. Tell us more about who you are. Many Kentuckians likely know who you are, but for maybe others and throughout Kentucky or throughout the country who might not know you and your story, who is Colonel Pam Stevenson, and why is she running for Attorney General?
Thank you. So I have been I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. And my grandparents started a church 75 years ago where I'm now an ordained minister. I've been married for 41 years. I have 2 babies. My family has been in Kentucky for generations. I am Kentucky's daughter. Now, they call me Colonel Pam because I served in the Air Force and I took on the toughest jobs. I was a chief prosecutor, chief defense counsel. I worked with law enforcement. I directed policy for regions. I deployed to the Middle East. I worked with the United Nations. I worked with the State Department. I went to Africa after the war was over to restore peace. When we work on that which we agree on, Kentucky moves forward. I am running to be Kentucky's Attorney General because I worked for 27 years with military members, and every year we took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and we never thought it would be domestic. And people, 19, 20-year-olds, teenagers, gave their lives for the promise of America. There are many mothers and fathers that don't have their children with them now because they serve this country. And some of them don't even have, their bodies have not been returned to this soil. So that we would dishonor their legacy by destroying democracy is wrong. So as long as I have breath in my body, I'm going to continue to fight the fight so that 100 years from now, when we have the next pandemic, the people can point to this time and this place as the people who saved democracy. Number two, you can't send us back to the 1300s. Now is the time. Now is the time for each one of us to dig deep, dig through the tiredness, dig through the wretchedness, dig through the lies and say, not on my watch will you destroy democracy. Everybody can do something. Everybody must do something. Now is the time. You are the leaders that your community is counting on. Stop looking for the next Dr. King. Be it.
And many Black Kentuckians and Black people across the country were really activated by the shooting death of Breonna Taylor by police officers there. And there was a lot of controversy behind the current Attorney General, Republican Daniel Cameron, his handling of that case. What kind of impact has that had for Kentucky politics? And what do you think more generally of how that was handled?
If the office of Attorney General was for the people, by the people, to serve the people, we wouldn't be where we are today. It would have been instant justice. The Department of Justice would not have come down to do the job he should have done. That office has been so politicized that there are 2 commercials out now saying, I sued the governor 27 times and I sued Joe Biden 23 times. Well, if you're doing all that suing for political purposes, that means you're not taking care of people. You only have limited resources and you focus your whole office as a weapon so you can have power. Meanwhile, Kentuckians are suffering. They don't have what they need to take care of their families. The difference will be my purpose is for the people, by the people. I'm going to return that office to the people, and I'm going to start by talking to the people that know what they need, the leadership in each county.
And your opponent, Republican Russell Coleman, has taken a tough on crime approach to his campaign platform. Why do you think that you are a better candidate, a better choice than your opponent?
Well, my tough on crime opponent has let over 40 pedophiles go with a sentence less than the judge wanted to give. Children depend on adults, and the worst crime you can commit is a crime against a child, and he let them go for lesser sentences than the judges wanted to give. So don't talk to me about tough on crime when the least of these who can't protect themselves, you let their offenders go for whatever reason he did, I don't know. Number 2, you've got to have a heart for people to do the job and not be a power grab. My whole life I have been a public servant. I have always served people, not when I could get power, not when it's convenient, not when it would look good, not when Mitch McConnell tells me to, none of that. I have served people with my whole life. I am the candidate that will make sure that voices are heard. And I don't even think some of the Republican voices are heard based on what I'm hearing across Kentucky. They're invitations for me to come and visit them and walk through their town. So I'm in it for the right reasons. I've got the background to do it. I did it in the Air Force. I hit the ground running, making a difference for people immediately and not for political purposes. And that's the big problem. If you look at all the ads, their ads are ads of division. There are no plans to make anybody's life better. It's just one Kentuckian should hate another Kentuckian. Stop it. You would take the rights of parents away. You would take the rights of the American Medical Association away, of the American Psychological Association away because of your personal view. That's not the way the government works. And we're going to show them this time that love never fails and hate politics does not win.
And there is a chance that if you are elected as Attorney General, that there will be divided leadership, if you will, in Kentucky. In that Daniel Cameron, the current AG, is running for governor and could be elected governor of Kentucky. What do you make of Daniel Cameron's ability to lead the state of Kentucky? And do you think that you could work alongside him?
Well, first of all, he just wrote out an ad talking about 41 indicted, 91 indictments against the former president, and all the things that have come out, to include overthrowing the government. Don't tell me you believe in law enforcement when your biggest person that you held is the biggest person that's breaking the law at this point. And you want to talk to me about law and order? No. Show me. He just wrote out an ad talking about Trump and how he's the only one that's been endorsed by Trump. Really? On the 28th of October, after everything that's happened this year? You would do that? That's a cultural war, which he shows he's willing to play to win. That's a power play. Now, in the military, I had to work with people that were not like me all the time. I'm a short Black woman in an all-white male establishment when I went in. And I learned how to play the game. Secondly, they sent me everywhere. They sent me to Africa. They sent me to the Middle East. And I had to go get what was needed so America could thrive. I couldn't run back and say, look, they don't like me. I had to develop my leadership to run complex organizations over continents and over states. I had to develop my ability to listen and see what can we do so that we both can win. 27 years practice of creating win-win creative solutions is what I bring to the Attorney General's office. That's not there. Neither my opponent nor the current occupant has that. In fact, the current occupant only had 8 years of legal practice the day of the election when he won. My opponent has 19. I have nearly 40. In situations they wouldn't even know what to do. So I have no fear that I can handle this job. I've done this job. I have every hope from what I see going across this state that all people want is their lives to work. And when they go in and they pull that lever to vote, they will pull the lever for their lives to work and for decency, honesty, and democracy. That's what's on the line.
Any final thoughts and your message to Kentucky voters as they weigh who they'll vote for on November 7th?
Well, first of all, who you vote for? You know who you're going to vote for. I'm asking for your vote because it's needed. We're at a crossroads. And then secondly, we must vote. When we vote, we win. Everything is at stake. No more hold your vote hostage. Because if you don't vote now, you won't have a vote later. You've seen the evidence of everything they said they're going to do and how they've marched down that list to do it. If you believe in those things, then you will sit on the sideline. If you don't, then now is the time to fight. Get everybody in your cell phone. Ask them the question, when are you voting? And then ask them to do the same thing with their cell phone. Now is the time.
Kentucky State Representative Colonel Pam Stevenson, candidate for Attorney General. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you for having me.